Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pod TV network, our show, Medicine and Science, which we're going to discuss a very important topic for the people that are interested. It's called cancer. And of course, cancer is the number 2 killer in the United States behind heart disease. And some of the interesting developments are vaccines. And I know we have the anti-vaxxers who believe that they're horrible. Vaccines cause autism because as we increased our use of vaccines, more autism went up. And of course, automobile use increases autism because we increased using our automobile and autism went up. So pick between automobiles and vaccines, which created autism. So they're kind of not very bright on the anti-vaxxers because they're dismissing the science. But we are bright, and we're going to bring some bright people on the show. And we're bringing Dr. Michael Patmos, who's actually board certified in internal medicine, who's going to give us an update about these vaccines and cancers, because there's some new breakthroughs in this area. So none other than the star of the show, Dr. Michael Patmos, our audience is very interested in this. It is the number 2 killer in the United States, is people dying of cancer, but it looks like there's some progress being made finally using vaccines. Oh boy, that's going to send the anti-vaxxers crazy. But what do we got?
Good morning, Nick. Good morning, everybody. This is really exciting news, and it's not getting the coverage that it should get, that it deserves. So I'm glad we're going to talk about it. But this is extreme. This is one of the most exciting things I've heard in a long time. Just the other day, a study was published in Nature. Nature is a very prestigious scientific publication. A study was published in Nature that was retrospective and looked at hundreds of patients, and in a very surprising result, showed that patients with 2 kinds of cancer, stage 3 and stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer, and patients with metastatic malignant melanoma who were getting what's called immune checkpoint inhibitor treatment. This is immunological. These are new drugs that are used in these kinds of and other cancers, called ICIs, immune checkpoint inhibitors. And they've been really a breakthrough drugs. That patients with these specific cancers who are on these immune checkpoint inhibitors, who also got a COVID mRNA vaccine, doubled their survival, nearly doubled their survival. The average survival went from 20 months to 37 months. It significantly increased the 3-year survival rate, nearly doubling it. Now, this is stunning information, because you have to, if you're not a clinician, you probably don't realize non-small cell lung cancer, stage 3 and stage 4, is a very bad disease. These people are dying. This is a terminal illness. These are the sickest of the sick people with advanced lung cancer, with metastases in their lymph nodes and elsewhere, who are dying. These people are struggling, to live another week or 2 or month or 2. They get, in the past, they've been treated with chemo. Now we add the immune checkpoint inhibitors. And here we come along and find out, hey, wait a second. If they get a COVID mRNA vaccine, it doubles their survival. These are improvements that we struggle to get small incremental gains in treating these patients. And here, the vaccine doubles the survival rate. This is stunning. It's a very big effect, a very big accomplishment in the treatment of these people with end-stage non-small cell lung cancer. But wait, there's more. It wasn't just in lung cancer. It was also in metastatic malignant melanoma, another very, very bad disease. If you're a doctor, if you ever have had a family member or have known someone who died of metastatic malignant melanoma, you know how difficult that disease is to treat, and to see survival rates essentially double in these patients is just stunning good news, and it's been largely ignored by the media. So now, there's a couple caveats. Yes, the study is retrospective. It needs to be confirmed in prospective studies. But here are some important points. The benefit has been worked out. What happens is when these patients get vaccinated, their immune system responds and it revs up. There's actually an increase in interferon levels. The interferon then primes the CD8 lymphocytes to go after the cancer cells, and the effect has nothing to this is not an mRNA vaccine that's targeted to the cancer. This is the mRNA COVID vaccine. This is just a spillover benefit due to the fact that the mRNA vaccine stimulates the immune system. So it's kind of a generalized effect, and it begs the question: if it does this in non-small cell lung cancer and in metastatic malignant melanoma, what about other cancers like renal cell carcinoma or urothelial cancer or carcinoma of the colon or any other pancreatic, any other of the dozens of cancers that kill people? Might we still see this same benefit? There's a lot of interest now that needs to be done on this, but unfortunately, Robert Kennedy and his anti-mRNA friends have just gutted research for messenger RNA. So instead of doing more research in this area now, they're going to be doing less. So this is a very, very important effect. The implications are enormous. And now I posted about this the other day, and somebody came back and said, well, this is all just preliminary. It needs to be confirmed, and kind of trying to pour water on it. But wait a second. We're talking about a vaccine that these people should already be getting. These patients with cancer, have comorbidities. These are the people who all should be getting the vaccine anyway. No one is making a shocking recommendation here that's putting these people at risk. These are people who should be getting the vaccine anyway, but they largely aren't because they've been getting misinformation and disinformation from the anti-vax crowd and the anti-mRNA crowd. So, it's interesting. They've been largely silent about this. No wonder. This is just egg on the face of all of those who have run around now for 3 and 4 years talking about the horrible effects of the mRNA vaccine and turbo cancer, and that it's killing all these people. No, actually, it's not. It's been proven safe and effective for preventing severe disease and death in COVID patients. And now, oh, by the way, it also dramatically improves survival for patients who didn't have much hope before. And it's a very exciting window into the future here. We may see more benefit in other. My prediction is that if it works, non-small cell lung cancer and malignant melanoma are completely unrelated cancers. This effect was generalizable to both of them. That suggests to me that it may be generalizable to other cancers as well. I think there's enough here to be able to recommend that patients who are being treated for cancer should all be immunized against, should get the COVID vaccine. They should be getting it anyway. If you're an oncologist or you're treating such patients, I think there's enough exciting impact from this or implication from this study to recommend that these patients get vaccinated, which they should be getting anyway. And I think the other thing it does is, we have to step, for a long time, I've said these anti-mRNA experts they're not legit. We need to step back and say, hey, wait a second. These people have been telling the world that these vaccines cause cancer. They don't. And, their credibility is shot now. This is not having egg. They're not just having a little egg on their faces. They got a whole omelet on their head right now. This is very embarrassing. If you're Peter McCullough and you've been talking about this causes cancer, the mRNA vaccines cause cancer, guess what? You look like a fool now. All the other anti-mRNA people, from Robert Malone, Dr. Bhattacharya, Dr. Makary, Robert Kennedy, all of them now, they really are, they should be spitting feathers from eating crow. So I think I'm just very excited about this, and hopefully, now we can put these cynics, these cynics who don't even have the right credentials and have been spewing incorrect information. Hopefully, they're shut up now.
So there's a scene in Back to the Future where Biff, the bad guy, grabs Marty McFly, grabs him by the shirt and hits him on the head, goes, hello, McFly, hello, hello. Turns out that's what an mRNA vaccine does to your immune system. It wakes it up. It revs it up. And my friend Lance is Trumpy, and he used to send me bad papers by people who or either dumb or disingenuous about how, the vaccine lets cancer run wild by distracting it, um, to cover COVID. Turns out 100% wrong. That we should be entering a golden age of cancer cures, thanks to mRNA, and then RFK has been shutting it down.
Yeah. I read the paper. It's a very technical, this paper in Nature magazine is a very technical paper. By the way, it is on my LinkedIn page. If you want to find the actual paper, it's on my LinkedIn page. So you can read it for yourself. It's a very technical and complicated paper. But what's interesting is that you're kind of boiling it down to layman's terms. When you get the mRNA vaccine or other vaccines, you get an increase in your interferon. That's why you feel a little achy and yucky after you get vaccinated sometimes. For a day or so, you don't feel 100%. And people call that this terrible adverse effect. No, it's actually a good effect. It's the interferon going up. And that primes your immune system to fight cancer. So it's actually good. I think about people who have made the strategic decision to go after mRNA vaccines and trash them. If they really understood what was meant by the phrase mRNA as a drug, they would not have done this, because the future for mRNA is enormous. And to come out against mRNA and say this is a bad thing, it's the sign of the devil, and blah blah blah. Now they box themselves into a corner, and whatever good news comes out from mRNA, they can't now turn around and say, oh yes, mRNA vaccines are great, after they've just spent 4 years saying they're the worst thing ever and they've killed millions of people. These people have completely discredited themselves and boxed themselves into a corner now. And I'm speaking specifically about Dr. Malone, who claims he invented it and has been trashing it for 4 years. Now, what's he going to do now? Come back and say, oh no, it's actually good? He can't. He's stuck. Yeah. And it's a shame, because he did play a role, and he could have enjoyed ongoing respect because of the little role he did play. And now he just looks like an idiot.
Yeah. Also, Nature is the best journal for being legit. There are scientific journals out there that are slutty and crappy. They will publish any old ridiculousness. Nature, peer-reviewed, like the strictest standards.
Yeah, we do know that. But this is also a very serious problem, because if you look at the mortality statistics, 611,000, now this, of course, comes from our AI people, 611,720 deaths in USA from cancer in 2024. The second leading cause of death in the United States. So actually having research in this area, because it's one of the few things that are promising, in other words, you already have a foothold on the beach, would be enormous. But you just told me that RFK and the crew that doesn't know anything, which right now is our leaders, are withdrawing research grants in an area that could save the lives of, by the way, this is an annual basis, 611,000 people approximately this year will die of cancer. And a lot of them are listening to this show and they're going like, hey, where's the research? So
39% of Americans will get cancer at some point in their lifetimes, and which means if it's not you, it's somebody in your immediate family.
Yeah. So where is the research going, or did he pull the plug on all the research that would eliminate cancer? What's going on here in the research?
Well, that's a complicated question. My understanding is that it's really hundreds of millions of dollars of research funding into mRNA vaccines has been paused or stopped or canceled. So it's not, I don't think it's all of it. There's other, there's other sources of funds. There's other entities that fund research. And I don't know that it's all mRNA research, but it has been dramatically cut back. It has been gutted by RFK. And interestingly, part of the reason it was gutted, they had a guy named Dr. Hatfill, who was just got fired by RFK. How bad do you have to be fired by RFK? Anyhow, this guy Hatfill just got fired by RFK yesterday. And was one of the ones who's involved with Human Health and Human Services, who recommended that the mRNA vaccines be defunded. Well, he just got the boot yesterday, because it turns out that much of his resume is false and fabricated. Like surprise, surprise, like a lot of these people, in RFK's crowd have false and fabricated, embellished and exaggerated CVs. Hatfill is not alone. There are others as well. In any case, mRNA vaccine research funding from the federal government has been gutted. And this is the last thing you'd want to do now. This is a very big breakthrough. We need to put more money into mRNA research, and we need to, these people who are anti-mRNA, they need to shut up because they don't know what they're talking about. They're fakers. They've got wrong information. They're spreading disinformation all over the place, all over LinkedIn and on social media, and they're in the government. And they need to. We really got to expose these people. They're frauds and they're wrong.
Yeah. I think we have our own form of cancer out there. It's called the anti-vaxxers. In other words, that they themselves are cancerous and that they are a small group of people. They're not really that large, but they're very vociferous and vitriolic, and they spread like a cancer. And so the first cancer we need to eliminate is probably the anti-vaxxer cancer.
And they make
get rid of them.
A lot of the anti-vaxxers sell supplements and other crap.
Yeah. And those things have been proven just frankly not to work. So they're basically selling snake oil as opposed to good medicine. So hopefully when you see progress like this on an area that is a high mortality and all the boomers who are listening to this, hey, yeah, like what Rick said, 20%, you have a 2 out of 10 chance that you're going to be one who's going to get cancer.
No, 4 out of 10, 39%.
Is it 39%?
Yeah, 38.9% according to the NIH.
Wow. Okay. So the baby boomers who are getting older, and they are getting older, will be faced with cancer. And wouldn't it be nice if there was a cancer vaccine? The answer is yes. Of course.
Started the war on cancer in 1971. And back then the standard was they find cancer, they treat it, and then they see if the cancer returns within 5 years. 5 years was the deal. You were considered cured if it didn't come back in 5 years. Back then, 50% of people made it 5 years. Now it's 75% of people. And that number goes up 1% a year. And it's more than that because you have to wait 5 years to see if it comes. So the landscape gets better and better. We're better at detection. We're better at treatment, and we should be entering, a golden age with AI that helps design the genes that you can put in that you can put in a vax that teaches your immune system to grab the particular kind of cancer you have.
That's an important point. This mRNA vaccine that was used, that was reported on in this trial was, or this retrospective study, was the COVID mRNA vaccine. It wasn't one of the ones targeted for cancer. There's research, and our mRNA vaccines are specific for specific cancers. So they may be even better. So this is really, really an exciting turn of events here. And as someone in my 70s, I'm excited to hear this for people in my age group, and for all the other. I have relatives right now who are fighting to stay alive with cancer. I called them yesterday and told them, if you haven't had the COVID vaccine, which you should have had anyway, go get it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is these gains in life. An extra 17 months of life is huge for people with this stuff. If you read the fine print, like so many ads for cancer treatments on TV, especially if you watch the news channels, which are mostly watched by older people, and you read the fine print and you realize that these drugs that they're selling, they said, well, half the people without this drug made it 10 months, and with the drug 18 months. So they're selling this drug to buy eight people in 8 extra months. This stuff, without intending it, bought people an extra 17 months.
And without the adverse consequences. Immune checkpoint inhibitor drugs are potent drugs, and they have some very significant side effects. Here, the mRNA vaccine, so benign, and it's as effective as these as these ICI drugs. It's really an impressive thing. You look at women with breast cancer, metastatic breast cancer. It wasn't that long. I've been a doctor for 45 years. It wasn't that long ago. These women didn't last 3 years and they were gone.
Right.
Well, now with immune checkpoint inhibitors, they're living much longer now. And now you add the benefit of the COVID vaccine to it. You're talking about women who in the past would have been dead in 1, 2, 3 years, living 5, 10, 15 years now. It's just astonishing the progress that's being made, prolonging life for these patients. And I've seen, lung cancer is a very common disease. And in my years practicing medicine, I've seen a lot of patients with lung cancer. And, it has typically just been a death sentence when it's stage 3 and stage 4. And to see a survival benefit essentially double I was shocked by this. Maybe it's because I'm a doctor and I've seen these patients. The benefit is just enormous. And, to think that this has not been picked up much by the media shocks me. I mean, this is really big news in cancer.
Yeah.
So cancer for you to get cancer, a cell has to break, or a line of cells has to break in 3, 4, 5 different ways. And cancer has a big toolkit, and one of the tools is these checkpoint things. They grow. A checkpoint is, I just read up on it, tells your immune system there's nothing going on here, just ignore it, walk by. And then the inhibitor knocks out the thing that tells your immune system not to pay attention.
Interesting.
The mechanisms of this are fascinating. And, what a turn of events. The thing that the anti-vaxxers and the anti-mRNA crowd have been complaining about, the fact that you feel a little yucky, and they're calling that an adverse reaction. It turns out actually is a benefit. But I think it's all the cancer-related stuff aside, there's also another issue here, and that is the credibility of people who are talking about this stuff, who get into positions of power. I think about, I'm active on LinkedIn. Peter McCullough and the McCullough Foundation is bombarding LinkedIn, and he has been for years, and getting away with it, with false information, distorted information, primarily implicating or suggesting that the mRNA vaccine is killing people by the millions by causing cancer. He's one of the drivers of this concept of turbo cancer, along with Malone and others, suggesting to the public that these vaccines cause cancer. And there's no evidence of that. And now we have evidence to the contrary, that it's actually probably a huge benefit.
There's evidence that COVID itself can contribute to cancer.
Yeah. Yes. So I just think that we've got to expose these people who have embellished credentials, who are saying things on social media unchecked. You talk about checkpoint inhibitors. We need to inhibit these people with some checkpoints, because they're saying the wrong things. And I think they're foolish, because, if I were Robert Malone and I had done research on this when I was in medical school, I would be all for, how good these things are. If you really understood what mRNA as a drug means, then you would realize this is just the beginning of a lot more potential benefit. And I would want to bask in the glory of that, not go down in history as the one who dissed the vaccine that I claim to have invented. And now I'm going to stand on the sideline and pee on the parade because I'm jealous.
It's not just cancer. 33% of Americans will get Alzheimer's, and there may be ways to vaccinate people against stuff like that, and it's going to be more than 33%, because COVID itself accelerates brain aging.
Yeah.
Well, we already know that the shingles vaccine has been shown recently in multiple studies to reduce the incidence of Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah,
so it turns out that, when you get shingles, it's not that you just get it once and then it goes away. It stays in your brain. It's a herpes virus. It stays in the nervous system. And so it turns out that it's not this benign thing that, we often think of shingles. Well, it's a rash and it goes away. No, it actually stays in your nervous system and wrecks your brain and increases your risk of Alzheimer's disease. So one of the best things you could do to prevent Alzheimer's disease is get shingles vaccinated. You want to prevent cervical cancer? Get the vaccine against human papillomavirus. HPV vaccines prevent cervical cancer. Now, God, you have metastatic cancer. You should definitely be vaccinated. You should have been vaccinated anyway. But everybody, I'm a physician licensed in 14 states. I'm telling patients with metastatic cancer, if you haven't been vaccinated for COVID, which you should have been, go get vaccinated. It's zero risk and potentially significant benefit.
Yeah. And what we don't like to see is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing an aging of America as people are getting older and older. So two number one killers, at least when I set up pensions, we have death benefits in the plan. The thing insurance companies don't like is heart disease, because that's the number one killer. Then the number two thing they don't like is cancer, because cancer is the number two killer in the United States. So having an avenue to reduce the mortality statistics is extremely beneficial if we can get there. But we have a lot of noise on the outside, which are your anti-vaxxers, who are basically anti-science. It looks like they're anti-science, anti-research, anti-everything. Don't they suffer from OCD, do you think? I mean, seriously, or... So anyway, they tend to have a problem, because when they see the results of this being favorable, they'll continue on their march to Hades, saying, "Hey, people shouldn't take vaccines." But it doesn't seem like the evidence goes that direction.
Also, you want to stay out of the hospital. You want to stay healthy, because if you look at statistics, we're talking about the number one, number two causes of death in America. A top five cause of, I think, death is you go to the hospital and somebody makes a mistake. You run into a bunch of, a zillion nurses, a zillion doctors, a zillion situations in your treatment where somebody can screw up, and that kills a certain number of people so you want to stay healthy, get immunized, stay out of the hospital. Where you can go to the hospital and nobody can make a mistake. Everything can be perfect, and you can still get MRSA, which is this.
Yeah, MRSA.
And so,
Yeah. Well, we've had success in polio. We've had success with smallpox. We've had success on the measles vaccines, the MMR vaccines, and yet with all the success that dates back now decades of proven success, you have a small group, and I'd say a small group of people who, and some of them have credentials, like you just mentioned, this Dr. Malone and Dr. McCullough. Some of them have credentials, which is the sad part. And they're the ones that are leading the charge, sending people into the wrong direction. In other words, rather than relying on good medical care, they're saying, "Hey, why don't you buy the snake oil that I sell down the street?" Somewhere along the line, and I've reported them to LinkedIn, including Physicians for Informed Consent. I'll continually report them to LinkedIn, because they're spreading misinformation. I just refuse to have that group continue to make claims that they make that are just unsubstantiated.
I would like to pose a question to Dr. Malone, Dr. McCullough, and others, and these people are empowered, Dr. Bhattacharya, Dr. Makari. Please comment about this study in Nature. I want to know what are your thoughts about this? I want to hear what they have to say. Why are they so silent all of a sudden? I would like to know what their analysis is of this study, and put them on the spot, and then ask them, maybe are they willing to rethink their criticism of messenger RNA, that it's not the sign of the devil?
Yes.
They won't quote this study. They will quote garbage studies. For instance, there was a study showing that vaccinated people die at a higher rate than the unvaxxed. But the study was crap, because it turns out that in the study, the people who were, the sicker you were, the more from other stuff, the more likely you were to get vaccinated, because you were afraid. And so it was a sick population, a population with other serious, heart cancer, whatever. They got vaccinated at a higher rate because they were scared. And then the healthy people with nothing wrong, didn't get vaccinated. And the people who wrote the study didn't control for level of previous illness.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to have to go. We do want to thank Dr. Michael Patmos, who is board certified in internal medicine, who's a real medical doctor, not like the person who leads our Health and Human Services, who is not a doctor, and our panel in the United States and our viewers in the United States and around the world. We'll see you next week on Medicine Science, only on the Pod TV network. Take care. Till then.